Hi, everybody. I'm Dave,
And I'm John.
and this is Coffee and Capes, our podcast about two of our favorite things, drinking coffee and talking about geek culture.
Yes, I feel like we're a little behind on this one. Dave
Yeah.
went on a trip with his family. We forgive him. Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yes. Family's important, guys. Vacations are important. They're good for your mental and emotional health. Not everything should always be focused around uh, jobs, work, those kinds of things. So, yeah, take a little time off. Hopefully, you're listening to this on some kind of little vacation.
Yeah, we're in the car, traveling. That's some sort of malapropism of driving and traveling.
Yeah,
Draveling. There you go.
I caught it. We're good. New word.
It's a
You
new
heard it
word.
here
Yep.
first, folks.
Yep. Draveling.
Maybe you're
We're
on
here
your
for
way
all your
to
traveling needs.
Yes, all your traveling needs. Maybe you're on your way to San Diego Comic-Con.
Ooh, that would be cool. I hope you are. Let us know if you are, please. That would be so fun.
That right? I wish we next year we're going. We will be at C2E2 though.
We will be. You know who we know is at San Diego Comic-Con?
Who?
Our new friend Ruben. Ruben
nice.
Nahara, the creator or one of the artists on the best Archie comic ever, who we keep saying we're going to interview, and we will. It just the schedule keeps not working out, but
Yeah,
that's coming
at some
soon.
point.
At some point soon, sometime before the year is up.
Yes, and Kevin Costner. We're gonna interview Kevin Costner.
I can't promise that, but I can tell you, I was recently at the Field of Dreams site for the first time, so that was fun.
It's the whole reason I made that joke just now was so I was hoping you'd bring that up.
There's my Kevin
epic.
Costner, connection for this episode is that we were recently at the Field of Dreams movie site. It was pretty great, and yes, we had a catch.
It's awesome. That's really awesome. Like I want to go out there and do that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, folks, you found us. Thanks for finding us. In whatever manner you did, let's go through the usual rundown of all the ways you can connect with us.
Yeah. So if you're watching us, obviously you found us on YouTube, right?
Hi.
So hi everybody. We're also on all your podcast listening places like Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, across the podcast universe. We are on social. So
all the
Instagram,
realms. You could even say that we're in all the podcast realms.
All the podcast realms. Good one. That's good, buddy. So we are on social, Instagram, coffee _ the letter N _ capes. On Instagram, we're on Facebook, Coffee and Capes, all one word. We're on Twitter. We are going to be heading to TikTok at the request of our friends Christina and Amanda.
Are you sure about that?
We're just going to stab at it and see how it goes. It's
going to stab us, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's going to be silly, I think. Like, I don't even know what to do, but you know what? That's all right. Self-deprecating humor, folks. If you can't laugh at yourself, right? What are you going to laugh at?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And you can email us at supers, SUPERS at coffeeandcapes.com. Right. And then you can also find our website. You can go to comics.coffee in your little web browser thingy up top, or you can type out the whole name of the website, coffee, the letter N, the word capes.com. Also, next week, we will announce the winner of our free coffee and comic for a year giveaway.
Woo! Yay!
Yeah. So thanks everybody for entering. It's great. All kinds of excited people about it. And we do have we're working on some cool changes to our coffee and comic subscription service. So keep a weathered eye towards the horizon. If you have magic eyes, you can probably see what we're planning, but keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So there are lots of people excited, but I also heard that there are lots of goats that are excited about this big announcement.
Yes, screaming goats.
Yes.
Screaming goats. Dave, what is our coffee of the week this week?
Well, since you can probably tell and probably guess if you can't see that we're talking about Thor: Love and Thunder today. So one more time, today's episode is brought to you by the letter A for Asgardian Amber.
The letter A. Yes, the letter A, Asgardian Amber. It's a really good coffee, guys. We've had a lot of good feedback on that one. It is a limited edition roast, however, so get yours now before
before it runs out.
Yeah, before it's gone and it's not available anymore.
It is a medium roast. It's a single origin medium roast. It has notes of blueberry, raspberry, honey, and milk to bring the thunder.
Yes.
Bring the thunder.
Bring the thunder. All right.
You put the hammer down. I'll put the hammer down.
It's such a good one. Okay. So, fan fiction?
Yeah. What do you got? You got something?
Fan fiction comes from Barbell Viking 1988, Alan, this week. It was on the last podcast episode, which was focused kind of around the 1980s and a little bit of nostalgia. And he actually said, I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but if you're going to list Superman 4, you better address Superman 3 as well. And I did point out that we did a little bit, right? I think that we addressed the fact that neither one of us could really remember what it was about, but we remember Richard Pryor was in it.
Yeah.
There was some, in retrospect, there was some stuff that we missed in that episode, by the way, like Gremlins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I got yelled at for not mentioning by my friend Kathy for not mentioning Princess Bride, because I quote that movie all the dang time.
Oh, was Princess Bride in the 80s? It was, wasn't it? Oh,
yeah.
I love that movie, man.
I know. Me too.
It's such a good movie. I mean,
I tried to say, well, it wasn't a franchise, so it doesn't count. And she wasn't buying that excuse.
No, that's fair. Fair enough, Kathy. Fair enough. Your point is well taken. I really have to say this, like, even as an adult, we talk about movies being pretty close to perfect from beginning to end. I'm going to venture out and say Princess Bride is perfect from beginning to end.
I can't argue.
No,
and I wouldn't,
right?
And I don't want to, because I agree.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the most quotable movies too.
So
I love quoting that movie.
Absolutely.
There's so many great moments. I knew not suppose you could speed things up. Right? So good. Mandy Patinkin and Andre the Giant are phenomenal together.
They really are.
Phenomenal.
That whole crew is just, the whole cast is fantastic. It's such a good movie.
Absolutely.
We missed that one. Gremlins good. I can't believe I never even thought about it with Gremlins, but that's a great point too. Like we completely missed it on Gremlins there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to swing back through, I think, and do like a 90s episode as well.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the polar opposite of what our 80s episode was. But hey, we'll give it a swing, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So thanks, Alan. Yeah, agreed. Superman 3, not good. Superman 4, terrible. What happened?
Hold on. Oh my gosh. What is going on here? Why did I just... Oh boy. This is never been a problem before. They're trying to tell us that we only have 10 minutes left.
Guys, we record on Zoom, and somehow, some way,
they're trying to tell us we don't have time.
Yeah. If you can't get it fixed and we run out of time, we'll just splice this in the next half of this together.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we just stop now.
Yeah.
And then reconnect.
You want me to? Okay.
All right.
Well, hopefully we're back. That was weird and annoying and obnoxious. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, that's okay. We got it figured out. For them, it's probably just like a half a second. For us, it was eternity.
Here's hoping. It's like a whole time travel thing. That's pretty awesome.
It was all time
returned right back to the spot where you left off.
You could say we went back to the future.
You could say that. What were we talking about?
I don't know. Let's just move on.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's move on. So today's topic, Dave.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
All right.
Love and Thunder.
I think in all fairness, before we dive into this, it's really important for anybody that's new that is listening to us. Dave is a massive Thor fanboy.
It's true.
Yeah. Huge Thor fanboy. So just get ready for all of the love and thunder that pours out of Dave around this movie I am anticipating.
Yes, but I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say, for all those that are new around here, here's our standard disclaimer.
Oh yeah, we got to do that.
it's we have no ability or frankly desire to keep spoilers from
we lack
keep spoilers
filters.
unspoiled. Yeah, we lack a filter. We're going to talk about anything and everything about this movie. So if you have not seen it and you do not want it spoiled, we recommend that you pause right now and go see the movie and come back.
Right, including its tie to Ted Lasso.
Right, exactly correct. So all the spoilers ahead here, there be spoilers. So if that is not what you want, then you need to wait, please, to listen to the rest of this, because otherwise you're going to be mad at us, and we don't want you mad at us.
Right,
we want you enjoying this time together.
Yeah, we like it. So let's get into it. Right, let's kind of start from the beginning. Dave, what was your initial thought of the movie as you sat down?
As I sat down to the movie,
as the movie started,
I thought, let's go. This is going to be so great. Well, actually, that's not entirely true, because I saw it maybe 3 days after it opened. I saw it on the Sunday, and we'd already heard that reviews were iffy. So yep. I sat down with a little bit of apprehension, to be honest with you.
Same.
Because I was obviously I'm excited about it. I want this to be great. The source material is so fantastic.
Yeah, the source material.
Last week I went back and I was reading some of the early issues of Jason Aaron's run on Thor. Gosh, that's so good. It's my favorite run of any comic.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. I managed to actually get my hands on Thor God of Thunder issue number 2 or number 4. Anyway, the first appearance of Gore.
Yeah,
like I went out and hunted one down. One, just that run, the Thor God of Thunder run is beautiful. Like,
it truly is.
Right, was it Thor God of Thunder that Gore was introduced? Yeah. Right, yeah, okay, I'm not off. And then and the source material, like you said, is phenomenal. Like Jane ending up being a Thor. The one thing we didn't see was from the source material where it deviated, pretty hard deviation, was right how Jane wound up with Mjolnir was different, right? Because when Thor and Gore first square off in the comics, he was it no.
Well, when he first squares off, it was young Thor, so he wasn't even worthy yet.
Right.
He didn't have Mjolnir yet in the comic.
Right. Yeah.
But so your question is, what was I thinking? Well, I was super excited. I wanted it to be amazing and awesome and all of the superlatives, but I was a little apprehensive. How about you?
Yeah. Same. I usually go into these things pretty excited or pretty like meh. Right. This one, I was like firmly in the middle. I didn't really know what I was going to think, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the movie. The reception had been lukewarm. I was going into it with the idea, though, that the only Thor movie that really got like the credit that it truly deserved was Ragnarok.
Yes.
Right. Thor Dark World, we know, was kind of one of those that people were like, meh. And the first Thor, some people loved it. And it was kind of one of those that some people were like, me. Dark World being the lowest rated out of all of them.
For sure. Some people put that as the worst of all the Marvel movies. I think.
Yeah, some people believe that. Yeah, no, Morbius clearly owns that crown. I'm going to stab that one to death over and over and over again.
Somebody needs to stab it right in the heart.
Somebody needs to put a stake in it. Maybe Blade will. Maybe just like he'll show up and just wouldn't that be great if we just saw the new Blade? The very first scene is him staking Morbius and being like, you're welcome.
Okay.
And then just heads out. All right. So the other thing that I tried to take into account going into this is Ragnarok set the bar real high.
Yes, for sure.
So the expectation for Taika Waititi's follow-up to Ragnarok, right, is going to be insanely high in the eyes of
for me.
Everybody.
And yeah.
Right?
I know better.
Now, I will say I wasn't a big fan of the first like probably 15-20 minutes of the movie.
Okay. The Doesn't it set up with Korg telling the story?
It's the Guardian stuff. The Guardians of the
Oh,
Galaxy
okay. Okay.
stuff
Okay.
I felt was kind of just like,
It felt kind of thrown in there.
yeah, I that's what I was gonna say. It felt shoved in.
Yeah.
It There wasn't a lot to it. It felt very just kind of fan serving, like an attempt to just be like, here you go, here's some Guardians of the Galaxy, we're just gonna do this really quick and done. So, which I thought was a massive miss.
Yeah.
Like,
I just, John, I gotta tell you, overall, I was disappointed in this movie.
were you?
Yeah.
I thought it got
wanted
better
to
as it
be
went on.
so damn good.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's funny and it's good to me. I don't want to get to the end, I guess, already, but it's good, but it's not great. And I wanted it to be great.
Yeah.
Because
I
Ragnarok was great. I've got Ragnarok in the top 3 of all-time Marvel movies.
Yeah. I don't have Ragnarok that high, but it's definitely in the top 5 for sure. And
well, top 3 of the standalone ones, not including the Endgame and
fair.
Infinity War. But
okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I think that again, this movie fell victim to one, that opening Guardian scene. I think probably lost a ton of people right out of the gate, at least fans, right? Because fans are like, you just kind of shoehorned this in.
Yeah, you didn't really give them anything to do.
Right. I didn't need it. It was really just a montage of Thor getting in shape, and then Star-Lord, Peter Quill just rolling his eyes at him over and over and over and over
Right.
and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
We got some Rocket, we got some Drax, and it just seemed, I don't know.
They're just going through the motions, kind of.
Yeah, just going through the motions. And I think that unfortunately sets the tone for the movie. Right. At least it kind of did. I was like, if the whole movie, at least for me, I remember thinking to myself in that opening sequence, if the whole movie is like this is gonna be not good. Like, I'm not gonna be happy with it.
Yeah.
Now I will say, for me, probably after half an hour, I saw the movie get better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When Jane got involved, I think kind of specifically, it seemed to get better. Gore, I think there was a lot of expectation around Gore as a villain because Christian Bale was in the role.
Yeah. And I think they set it up pretty well. I mean, it's a little different from the comics and the source material, but if you will. But I think they set up the emotional stakes of his story pretty well.
I think so too. Right. And I do have to say, like, Gore, like the emotional stakes, and Gore grabbing the Necrosword and killing that first god is like, oh, okay. Like, this is, but then we never see him kill another god, really.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of a miss, right? We see the aftermath.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we never really get to that's true. We never get to see him in action again, other than, like, what did somebody say? My son said he saw somebody on TikTok or something like, it's not Thor the God Butcher, it's Thor the Child Kidnapper or something.
Gore the Child Kidnapper. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was more of what we saw than anything. Is we saw him go after Asgard.
No, we saw as you say, we saw the aftermath. We saw, like,
Sif without an arm,
or Sif. Yeah.
But we didn't see him do it.
Right. And so it lessens the fear factor for him.
Right. And when you see, if we go back and we look at something like Thanos in Endgame and Infinity War, you see him kill these people. You see him, like, crush Loki's throat. It's a, you see the Black Order, right?
Tear through people.
So you get to see that. You don't see that with Gore. It was
so just in those images of the like distress calls. And some of that was cool. Like some of those were images straight out of the books, which were great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not enough of it to make the impact it needed.
No. And we talk about often like liberties with source material, right? In order to achieve something. I felt like there were too many liberties taken with the source material from this one to try and cram it into a single movie. This storyline to me, and I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off, but this storyline to me is a spanning, like in-depth storyline that crosses time and space and everything else.
Right. And in actual years, it was a 7-year arc that Jason Aaron wrote. 7 years. I mean, you can't cram 7 years of a monthly book into 2 hours.
Right.
So they were never going to be able to do that full thing. So I understand that. I kind of feel like I see this movie on sort of 3 planes or 3 realms, maybe. That on its surface, it's super campy and over the top, and just probably what Taika Waititi wanted. Clearly he wasn't too very interested in diving into the deeper questions that are inherent in this story, like are gods worthy in general? Like, should anybody be, and I say this as a professional clergy person, like should anybody actually be worshiping a god anywhere? Are any of them worthy?
Right. Yeah.
And that's to me, a very compelling question that the books ask and that the movie hints at. And it's possible that because I want it to be good and because I want it to follow some of those same things, I might be seeing something that's not there. But I do wonder if on some like either really high or really deep, whether way you want to think about it, like secondary level, if this movie really is asking those questions, if it really is a whole like pretty picture, like big, loud, lots of colors and all that, like to sort of distract you from the actual question it's asking, which is, are these gods worthy? And the answer for most of them are no.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see the other interactions, right? With like when they go to what is this city called?
Omnipotence City, right?
And they run into all the other gods, and they run into Zeus, right? Played by Russell Crowe, which was, I gotta be honest, I didn't expect that portrayal out of him, right? Yeah. When I think of Russell Crowe, I think of very serious stuff. I think of Gladiator. I think of you just go down the list.
Inside Man or whatever.
Inside Man. Right. Yeah. So there's a ton of different. Anyway, I don't know. Cinderella Man was a good one, right? There's a bunch of different stuff. He's a very good dramatic actor. I enjoy his stuff a lot.
Yeah.
So to see him be super campy, over the top, a little effeminate in his voice with the curly hair and everything else, and this. I got to admit, as he walks down the stairs to go talk to Thor, and he flips his little his little skirt thing up. I thought he was funny.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was surprised by it. I was like, okay, he's funny. And he doesn't take himself serious, and he doesn't seem to be worthy of like the worship of followers, right? Which, to your point, was the whole thing that Gore was going after, was like gods are not worthy because they don't actually care.
Right. Correct.
Right.
And so the opening scene set that up pretty well. Like, Gore's daughter dies, and then he gets to the Oasis thing, and the god is like, screw you. Like, your pain doesn't matter. You only exist to serve me.
Yeah. Right. The god was arrogant. He was a total jackass.
Yeah.
Right. And he wasn't there to help. Like, Christian Bale's like, we prayed to you. We lost everything. Yeah. We had faith at the end, when everything was gone, when my daughter died, like all of this, and I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Right.
And Russell Crowe like furthered that.
Yes,
as,
very much so.
As Zeus, right? Like even when he went down and like talked to Thor, and he's like, of course I'm scared, but he's never gonna get here. And those people, like, they don't deserve our right? They don't count. They don't matter. They don't deserve our whatever. And Chris Hemsworth, like his portrayal of Thor is always phenomenal. He's always great, but he makes it clear. He's like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we're here. You're wrong.
Yeah.
But all those gods, right, we're on board with like Zeus's ideas. We're just gonna hang out and party it up, and who cares about everybody else? And that important aspect seemed like a very small, like quiet subtext to the movie, when at the end of the day, it's the main driver for everything that happened. And instead, in this, what felt like the main driver was Thor and Jane trying to get back together and reconcile and everything else.
Yeah, right. I think that's apt. And so that's part of what was kind of disappointing. Now, to your point, like, so one of the major changes to the Gore character, I didn't remember this until I reread the books, but Gore is actually in the books, he's actually agnostic at best and maybe an atheist. Like, he gets kicked out of his little community because he's decided that the gods aren't paying attention. There aren't gods, or they aren't paying attention.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody else like is like, oh, how dare you? Like, it was a pretty good send up of like fundamentalist faith groups that are like, oh, you're not allowed to question anything. You have to just accept whatever it is that we say about this God and do the thing that we say. Otherwise, you're going to be ostracized. And that's exactly what happened to him. So to give him kind of the opposite, where he's like the most faithful and the biggest believer, was kind of it was a little bit of a shock, but it worked. I thought that part worked.
Yeah. And it would have been, I don't know. I'm not sure again why they deviated on that aspect of the source material.
It's easier to make a scene with one person and his daughter than it is with the whole community of folks.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
And Christian Bale is Gore in the scenes that we saw him in. Christian Bale's phenomenal. He's a great actor, and he did a great job with kind of what he was handed. Right. I think that they really missed it by not showing him like slaughtering these gods and squaring off and having those conversations with the gods, right, that he's killing, because that's what it was based on. But it really felt like the stuff that was given the most attention, right, and the most screen time was Jane and Thor.
Right. Which it's true. And it might be okay too. Like, it's interesting that who ends up being worthy of Mjolnir is not a god at all, but a human.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like, and she's the one who pulls it together. She's the one who, like,
literally. Yeah.
Literally brings all the pieces back together and create, and is able to wield Mjolnir.
Yeah. And that ended up being a cool power, by the way that the hammer would separate and then come back together.
Yeah. And let's give a huge shout out to Natalie Portman, because she was freaking awesome. She
really was. Dude, she was jacked too.
She was super jacked.
I read an interview. She said she got in the best shape of her life. She's like, it's so great to be 40 something and be in the best shape of my life because of this movie.
And she looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, she looked strong.
Yes.
If
she embodied that part.
Yeah. If anybody had any questions whether or not she was going to be able to pull that off, those were all gone.
Yeah.
Right. She really, to me, was like a highlight of the movie in that role. And did it justice, right?
Yeah.
In every aspect. Like, when she changed back to Jane and we saw the cancer like ravaging her body, right? And then she chose, and she made the hero sacrifice,
Right.
the human, not the god,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Making the hero sacrifice, like really kind of furthered along the idea that, you know, the gods wouldn't do that.
Well, in her reintroduction, right, receiving the chemo treatment added pathos to a very campy, silly movie that was intentionally over the top. And that's where I wonder, like, am I giving Taika Waititi too much credit? Like, is he truly a super genius where he's like intentionally layering these heavy things in underneath a veneer of camp and silliness? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's doing that or if I'm just seeing it because I want it to be there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd almost want to go back and watch Ragnarok again and see, right? I've watched some of his other stuff that he's done. Like he did a pirate show.
Okay.
It's a series. I can't remember what streaming channel it's on, but I've watched a few episodes and it's entertaining, right? But I don't know if he's, yeah, to your point, I don't know if he's the genius that we all think he is, or if he's just
out to have a good time and make it look pretty, which he's good at. To me, the difference between this and Ragnarok, I thought Ragnarok was legit funny, like almost like a buddy cop, back to the 80s thing, almost like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah,
like really funny with Thor and Hulk.
Yes.
And Love and Thunder was funny, but not in the same way. It was just like sort of campy funny.
Yeah. So this goes into kind of, if you think back to our last podcast, the last episode, there's a little bit of almost like source material fatigue. I think that happens when you take a character along for so long, right? And the evolution. So think about how Thor evolved.
Yeah.
Right. The first Thor movie was much more serious.
Right.
Shakespearean,
and it's because it's Kenneth Branagh, so the whole like Shakespearean influence and the desire to make it,
and it was good. I loved it. Right, it was good. You know,
I'm glad fish out of water part, like with him going to Earth and stuff. Yeah,
and you know, I will say I'm glad they stopped making Chris Hemsworth bleach everything.
Yeah,
right, and then Dark World was good, right, but I think for some people it went too dark, right? Dark World was supposed to be darker. I thought it was good. I love the dark elf aspect. Malekith is in the comics is always a good big bad
for sure. And not for nothing ends up being the big bad of that whole Jason Aaron arc, along with Thor.
But
that's neither here there, I guess, but still.
And then
formidable. He's a very formidable opponent for Thor.
Yeah. And then we saw in like Avengers and some other like, you know, team ups that they kind of take the reins off of Chris Hemsworth needing to be super serious Thor, and they let him flex his comedic muscle because Chris Hemsworth is funny.
He truly is. Yeah. And
he really is. He's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so people reacted great to it. And then he really got to flex that in he really got to flex it in Ragnarok. And
big time.
People loved it.
Yes.
And so we saw this evolution of serious, maybe a little too serious. So then we see the reaction to the funny side and we go heavy into the funny side.
Yeah,
that gets its best rating ever, best Thor movie ever, yada yada yada. And now we've leaned too far into it.
That's how it felt to me. Yeah. There's still good things. Like I'm hiding Valkyrie in the background. Years
she's great.
Dude,
yeah, right.
She's so amazing. Tessa Thompson is fantastic.
Tessa Thompson's fantastic in a lot of stuff. If you watch Westworld,
yes,
she's so good in Westworld.
She is. And you know, we said this about Jane, dude. Tessa Thompson's jacked in this movie too. Like she looks the part of a immortal tough warrior.
Yeah, 100%. Right. And I think she got a little lost in this film too.
Yeah, they could have done more with her for sure.
Yeah, I think they could have done more with her. Excuse me. But she was, Tessa Thompson was phenomenal. Tika Waititi as Korg, right? The little bit of comic relief that popped in from time to time, was fine.
I get a little tired of it. I'm a little tired of his shtick on that one.
Yeah, it kind of goes into that. I'm going to go back to the 80s thing. Chris Rock's appearance in Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
In the Lethal Weapon series, right? Yeah. It's fine, but it made it too lighthearted at times when it shouldn't have been as lighthearted. And maybe that's the biggest issue that I have with this movie, is that it's, in the comics, it's very deep source material,
right?
Like emotionally, mentally, it's tough stuff to dive into, and it's
asking tough questions of life, and this movie really didn't, unless it's happening on that deep level that I'm trying to see and hoping is there.
Yeah. And was it fun? Sure. If I step back and I look at it, did I have fun as the movie went on? Yes, I had fun as the movie went on, when I settled into and realized what I was going to get out of the movie.
Right.
There were the screaming goats were
so funny.
Awesome.
And the boat, like, I love the thing. They're taking the tours, like the tour stuff. Here's a little glimpse into what New Asgard is doing to try to, support itself, and all the like touristy stuff. That was hilarious. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was great. And they stripped the tourist boat down, and create and use Tooth Gnasher and
Tooth Grinder.
The
traditional names of Thor's goats. Like, if you're not a Norse mythology person, like that's how he would get around. He had two goats that would pull a like cart or something, whatever. So,
and it was great to see that come through. And there were some highlights. Heimdall's son, that was pretty cool that we got to see Heimdall's son.
Right. I was glad we got Sif back, although that scene especially, it just played, and as I was watching, I'm like, why are they so overacting? Like, it was so campy, and it just felt like she was really overacting in that part and just like trying too hard, and I didn't really get it. But I do think so. There is a sort of a recurring theme in the Jason Aaron run of Thor, that people lose a limb, and usually it's Thor who has the fake arm a couple of different times, kind of. But so I appreciate that they brought that aspect in. I don't know if that's a nod to the comics, but I'd like to think it is, that somebody loses a limb.
I guarantee you is a nod towards Star Wars.
All right, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, like, I guarantee you, like, when he did that, that's a nod towards Star Wars, because in every Star Wars movie, somebody loses a limb.
Fair. Yeah, I didn't think of that. But just before we leave that scene, the giant, like, sort of ice dinosaur monster thing lying on its side right there by Sif, that's straight out of the comic.
Yep.
Like,
straight out of the comic. Cool. Yeah. And that was super cool. And I was glad we saw that. And I was like, man, so we're going to get some of this. And then it was the attack on Asgard and the kidnapping of the kids, and the kids put into things. And that, like, again, the deviation from source material, like, there were some hard lefts in this. And there were in Ragnarok as well.
Sure. Right? And that's okay, but it's got to work all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
I was really glad they didn't try to save Jane from cancer.
Yeah.
Right. Some magical way. Be like, oh no, like, we can call someone and Doctor Strange will come in and do it. Something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And she wound up in Valhalla.
Call Wanda.
Yeah, call Wanda. Let's not. She doesn't make anything.
Probably not a bad idea. Probably a bad
idea. But she ends up in Valhalla, where she runs into Heimdall, and we get to see that moment, which I thought was great. And again, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster was phenomenal, and she really did a good job. I would be cool with seeing, like, her come back as a Valkyrie,
which is what they did in the comics. And I did like that scene too, because there's a similar scene in the books, like, after Jane sacrifices herself as Thor, Odin is showing her around Valhalla. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a very similar, again, here's a spoiler thing. Like in the books, she's about to step into Valhalla, and then she doesn't. And the next thing we know, she's back on Earth, and she's Dr. Jane Fonda again.
Jane Fonda.
Sorry, gosh, dang it. They made that joke, and I did it accidentally. Jane Foster, Dr. Jane Foster. Um, and then she's, because of the way the whole story had gone with the War of the Realms, there were no more Valkyrie, and so she becomes the last Valkyrie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to say her costume was awesome.
So good. Oh,
the
my
helmet
yeah.
was like on point, and
it looks straight out of the comic. I mean, that is straight out of the comic.
Yeah. And
so
Thor's armor that he has is from the 1980s, 90s ish,
90s. Yeah.
90s ish.
Yeah.
I have the issue. But that was, again, pulled from a different era, kind of spliced in.
Right. And it was I mean, Waititi was clearly going for a whole 80s vibe, since we're talking about 80s movie, with all of the stinking Guns N' Roses. Like, just kept hitting us over the head with the Guns N' Roses.
Okay, so I do have to go here, and the thing I could have 100% done without were the like Stormbreaker Mjolnir jealousy bit.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny.
I could have done without it.
Okay.
Like, to me at that point, like, so much other stuff had gone over the top.
Yeah.
I was like, we could do without this. It's an unnecessary comedic break. What could that time have been used for?
Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what else could that screen time have been used for? Like, I don't know, more gore going after gods.
Yeah. More gore from Gore.
More gore from Gore. Like, I would have loved to see that.
Yeah.
And this is us being fans and nitpicking from the base of
for
a
sure
fan, which is what you do.
Yeah.
Is the movie terrible? No, not at all. I don't think it's terrible. Is it great? Is it worthy of Ragnarok praise? Not even close.
No, it's not.
Not even close. Is it probably on par, with Dark World? For me, it's very different than Dark World.
In a while. I don't know.
It's very different than Dark World.
Yeah.
Like, very, very different than Dark World. I think visually it's more stunning and more appealing in that regard, right? Yeah. It looked great. It really did look great.
And I thought the action scenes were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I especially like the black and white fight.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was a cool effect.
Yeah, it was a cool effect.
I could do without all the Guns N' Roses posters that kept showing up.
I mean, you're just not a Guns N' Roses fan, Dave.
I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't. I don't know.
There was a theme, right?
There was definitely a theme. I just thought in Ragnarok, that moment when Thor is jumping down and coming down, like, to the opening of Immigrant Song, is so good.
Yeah, that was actually really great.
That's way up there toward the top of use of music, of a song, of a known song in a movie moment. Like, that was so great. And to me, none of the Guns N' Roses stuff rose to that level.
So I want to kind of touch on this because it just kind of hit me. So James Gunn, right? Who?
Oh yeah,
right.
Does
Guardians, did Peacemaker, did the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Right. That semi, like, the kind of comedic stick that he is known for within those shows, right? It feels like they hit that sweet spot with Ragnarok for Taika Waititi, and maybe everybody got so excited they were like, oh, this is the next James Gunn, let's just hand it off to him and give him free reign. But it's not, because James Gunn in his stuff balances out really well.
Yeah.
Like really, really well. He does the comedy stuff that is perfectly timed, has the very serious moments, doesn't shy away from that stuff.
Right.
You know, I went back and watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and man, every single time, like the scene with Rocket at the end where they're watching the Ravager funeral for Yondu, and Rocket's like, they came, like no matter how much he yelled at them, no matter how much he did this, like they came. And Peter has that like moment of awareness that he's talking about him, that Rocket's talking about himself, and he's like, of course they did, they're family, right? James Gunn threads that stuff together so well. Even in Peacemaker's so over the top at times, like just absolutely ridiculous. But the depth of emotion that like John Cena has in his like longing to be accepted by his dad or whatever,
the complication of that relationship. It's and this movie doesn't have that. Not really.
No, it doesn't have.
It hints at it, but it doesn't get there.
There you go. It hints at it.
Between Thor and Jane is probably the best. The closest. And I heard somebody describe in the books like the relationship between Thor and Jane at that point is more than friends but less than lovers.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it was they have such a deep relationship by that point in the books. And gosh, I don't know how this is going to sound, but to me that feels like a better, more important place to be than the like, oh, let's see if we still have like romantic love for each other.
Yeah, like the Thor pining to the point of like, it's been 6 years, this many months, and this many days, but who's counting?
Right.
It was funny, but it became a thread.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Instead of, and to your point, in the comics, like his love and respect for Jane, right, is what drives him to try and get her to understand, like, set the hammer down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jane's like desire to do the right thing and to be, you know, to help others keeps her picking it up. And they have real conversations. And we saw that at one moment in the movie. And I think in that moment, we saw the potential of what the movie could have really been.
Right. Yeah.
If they wouldn't have tried to go so over the top. And then we got back to like,
silly. Yeah.
Right. Thor, like, ha ha ha, I love you, Jane. Let me, you know, be goofy, instead of like, I don't necessarily need you back, but I'm here because I love you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which that's the heart of their relationship by that point in the books. And I think that's a little more moving to me.
Yeah.
I did like, so I'm glad you brought that up though, because there's another example of how like it drew from the source material from the books, where in the books it's few different people, but they're telling, like, people that love Jane are telling her, you can't pick up the hammer anymore,
right,
because it's killing you, because the magic of it, that as it's explained in the books, and they kind of said the same thing, but it didn't really get there. But it was supposed to be, the idea was transforming to Thor removes all the cancer from her, but it also removes all the chemo and the treatment. So when she transforms back into human, the cancer comes back, but the treatment doesn't. And, you know, I guess that's a little comic booky explanation that, you know, why would the one come back and not the other? But that's just how it, that's what they said. So that's why it was killing her, because every time she transformed back, like the cancer had progressed some and the treatment had not.
Right.
And there's this whole scene where they're like, you cannot, if you pick it up one more time, you will die. You will not transform back. And she agrees reluctantly. And then the hammer just shows up on its own, like outside the window, just like that. So I appreciate those little moments.
Yeah. And that's an important piece that we didn't really get to see a lot of. There was a whole lot of like exploration into how Mjolnir was talking to Jane.
Yeah.
Right. Thor went to the library of the gods to find out some of the history of Mjolnir, if I remember the storyline correctly, right, and learns about like how it talks, because it talks, right? Mjolnir
To
has
Jane. Yeah, it talks to Jane.
it
But it
talks to
didn't really do
Jane,
that to him.
right?
Yeah.
But it didn't do that to him. All right. So before we give it our rating, let's talk about the thing though that I got really excited about.
Yeah.
It seems like sometimes post-credit scenes are just the best part of some of these movies. But we got to see
You speculated. I got to give you credit. You said ages ago when we first heard this that Zeus was going to be part of it. It was going to be a way for them to bring in Hercules.
You know,
guess
Hercules or Ares, right?
Right,
it was
Hercules or
be,
Ares, right?
Yeah,
right.
It was going to be one of the two,
Yeah.
and we wound up with Hercules.
Yeah,
right. And Hercules was played by
I don't know.
I can't remember his name now. Just Roy
Brett
Kent.
Something? Is it Brett?
Brett. Yeah, Brett. I don't remember his last name.
From
but if you watch
Ted Lasso,
if you watch Ted Lasso, right? Hercules was played by
Brett Goldstein.
Brett Goldstein. There you go. Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent in Ted Lasso. He's phenomenal as Roy Kent in Ted Lasso. He's like truly like a phenomenal character. But there he was as Hercules, right? Like Zeus is laying on the floor. He's caught a lightning bolt through the chest. He's healing from it. He's angry. He talks about how the people don't fear the gods anymore. And he's angry at the Odin son and how he wants to remind them that they're there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which furthers the idea that the gods are terrible and not worthy of worship because they're all just petulant children.
Yes. And he tells his son, I'm going to send you to Earth and you're going to remind them that we are here and give them something to fear again.
Yeah. And take down Odin's son.
And take down Odin's son. And it pans and there's Hercules.
Yeah.
Who in the comics there's a long history of Thor and Hercules like not getting along, even when they're on the same team. Not getting along. But Hercules also has been an Avenger. He has been he was a founding member of the Champions, the first run around of the Champions. So he's interwoven through the comics, like
for sure,
a ton of places.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to see what happens with him. We're getting some interesting and more obscure almost characters from different aspects of the Marvel universe in the comics, which to me I think it is sometimes more exciting than when they try to do the big characters, right? Because they seem to really do a nice job of taking these more obscure characters that you don't know a ton about and building them.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. No, it's going to be great. There's part of me that feels like, how is Hercules on Thor's level? Because Hercules is a demigod, right? At least in the way that usually goes. Like Thor should be able to wipe the floor with him, but whatever. Like it's
the comics, dude. You can't.
I know. Yeah, I know. But yeah, like he looked the part. Goldstein looked fantastic as Hercules.
He did.
It's gonna be great. I mean, he only saw him for a second, but yeah, and the little sash. And the little, it's not a ham, the little like crudgel thing, whatever that is that his like little weapon club. Yeah, sure. No, it looks great, and what they're gonna do with him could be fantastic.
Yeah, in the comics, he is very arrogant.
Oh yeah, yes, and he, as you said, he and Thor like just don't like each other. They're just they butt heads all the time.
Yeah, Hercules is always poking at bear.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's very arrogant, and while Thor is a little bit more grounded, right? In terms of that kind of stuff, like Hercules is arrogant. He's got a ton of swagger to him. He fancies himself a ladies' man because he comes from the Olympic gods who, are notorious for going down to earth and seducing everything and creating.
Right. Well, that's his story, right? Isn't Hercules the product of Zeus and a human woman?
Yep. And he becomes the champion, and over time, all those different things. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see that. We did get that little blip at the very end that said Thor will be back.
Well, it says Thor will return. The question is, will it be Thor or will it be the mighty Thor? Like, who's coming back, or both?
Right. And we don't know. Right.
Because I think Jane's not going to walk into Valhalla. She's going to come back somehow. Or at least they set that
I
up as a possibility.
right, and I'd be cool with that. Like that'd
Oh,
be
it'd be
fine.
great. I would love to
Yeah.
see more of her. That'd be awesome.
If Helmsworth comes back for a fourth Thor movie, you know, to go head to head with Hercules and
yeah,
kind of go through that, I'm cool with that too. As long as, you know, we dial it back a little bit. I'd like to see it dialed back a little bit to get back to where it started.
So here's my theory. Here's my final theory.
Beginning.
Go back to the beginning. That is where we got the tea job. It always comes back to Princess Bride. Here's my theory to try to make myself feel better. The movie starts with Korg telling the story. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So what if all of the campiness and over the topness or whatever of the story is because it's set up as Korg telling it, and that's how he would tell it?
He's a stretch.
Yes.
But if it makes you sleep better at night,
right. Yeah.
Right. I think Tika Waititi just leaned too hard into what went well in Ragnarok and missed the other parts that made Ragnarok so amazing, right? Which were those heartfelt moments, right? Like where Tessa Thompson's character as Valkyrie, you know, they revealed, you know, she was a drunk. She was drinking all the time, and they revealed
she's missing her. You know, she's drowning her sorrows for missing all of her sisters, and they've hinted at that. Gore hinted at it, and it was there for like just a moment, and then it was gone.
Yeah, he poked it, and in Ragnarok, we got a whole scene, you know, of her fighting, and going through that whole process and everything else, and you know, there were some really, when you go back to Ragnarok, like there's some tough stuff, that some really in-depth and heartfelt scenes that helped expand the story and expand the characters. And in this, it wasn't there.
Right. Sure. And like, you know, the whole reveal from Hela of the, you know, here's the true history of Asgard, that it's really, you know, it's a
built on a foundation of like blood
empire and colonialism, and and stop trying to put this nice veneer on that. Here's who you are. Once again, gods aren't worthy. They're petulant and warring, and they aren't paying attention, except for Thor,
right,
and his friends.
Yes, Thor and friends. Well, Dave, before we sign off, what would you give this?
So our patented coffee and capes rating system is overwhelmed, whelmed, or underwhelmed. And I truly don't know what to give it, because I could make a case for all three. No, probably not overwhelmed. But so I think I'm going to end up whelmed, because I think ultimately, like I said before, it's good. There's stuff to like here. It's just not a great movie. Here's how I'll put it. Compared to my expectations, I was underwhelmed.
There you go. So I think
overall, there are some parts of it that were really, really good that would qualify for overwhelmed. So I think in the aggregate, I end up on whelmed.
Yeah. And I think it's key, right? And I think that as reviewers, I guess, I have to take my expectations out and look at it objectively. And I think it had some good moments and it had some not so great moments. I think it leaned too heavy into the comedic side of things and a little bit over the top. But at the same time, I thought visually it was stunning. I thought, Tessa Thompson, Chris Hemsworth is always good as Thor. Natalie Portman as Jane Foster was phenomenal. So there was great stuff with it too. But for me, I'd agree, right? I was whelmed. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. It was okay.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it was okay.
One more question for you.
Yep.
Were you not entertained?
I mean, I was entertained.
Yeah.
I didn't fall asleep.
Were you not entertained?
Russell Crowe. Gladiator. Man, what a great movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, that's like in my top 10 of all time. I love Gladiator.
I don't know if I can go quite that far, but
I can. Joaquin Phoenix in that is
Sure.
Massive good bad guy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail your thought there.
No, you're good. You're good. All right.
Whelmed. We both gave it a whelmed.
Yes.
But go see it and let us know what you think. Like, are you one of the many that just kind of didn't really like it at all? Or did you see goodness in it that we're missing? Like, what'd you think? Let us know. We would love to feature your thoughts on Love and Thunder on our next fan fiction.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for journeying with us. Let us know what you think of the movie. And we don't usually do this, but we'd love to have you give us a review, 5-star review. Like give us a rating and a review. That'd always be awesome. We'd love it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, share about us if you can. We love it. Thanks for being our fans. We love you. Until next time, True Believer. Bye.
Bye, guys.